Okay, we are now also live on YouTube and LinkedIn Live, so welcome everybody joining us there. Once again, good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, everyone, depending on where in the world you're joining us from. We're going to start in just a minute, just to give more people a chance to join. And while we wait, I would encourage everyone to use the chat button to say hello and tell us where you're zooming in from. For those of you following us on YouTube and LinkedIn Live, you can also use the comment section to introduce yourself and tell us where you're zooming in from. Okay, we are 1 minute past the hour, so I think we will just get started. And then for people joining later, they can also see the recording. So once again, good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, everyone, depending on where you are in the world you're joining us from. Today, we have an exciting webinar with Dedge Security and about securing Web3 adoption. And I will introduce our panelists in a moment. My name is Tomasz, and I'm an ecosystem manager at LFDT Decentralized Trust. Today, I will have the privilege of walking you through some housekeeping and introducing our panelists. First, I would like to emphasize that everyone is welcome in our community, and we strive to create a safe and welcoming environment for everyone. So please follow our code of conduct when you're interacting with each other on this webinar, as well as in the broader community as well. And you can find our code of conduct on our website. All of the LFDT Decentralized Trust webinars are held under the Linux Foundation antitrust policy, which you can also find on our website. This session is being recorded, and it's going to be later available both on YouTube as well as on our webinar library, along with the slides which you can download. We encourage you to be very active, and the more interaction we have, the better experience for everyone. So feel free to raise your hand button when you would like to speak up, ask a question. You can also use the Q&A box as well as the chat button, so whichever works best for you. And for those of us joining us on YouTube and LinkedIn Live, you can use the comment sections to ask your questions there, and I will relate to our panelists over here. Now, without further ado, I would like to introduce Ruben and Pablo from Dedge Security that have some very exciting content to present to us today. So Pablo and Ruben, over to you.
Okay, thank you, Thomas, for the introduction. So I'm going to share my screen first, okay? Second. Here. Okay. Okay, so it seems like it's working now, guys. So thank you for the introduction, Thomas, as I said. Thank you to the Linux Foundation for giving us the opportunity to present this webinar. Okay, hi everyone, for all over the world. This is Ruben. I'm the CEO and co-founder of Dedge Security, and Pablo is our product manager. We are very happy to be here today and present our vision about how to implement cybersecurity in this new ecosystem in Web3. Basically who we are, right? We came from cybersecurity. We have been working in cybersecurity for a long time, building products in Web2, mostly, obviously. But also we have now joined this new ecosystem, try to help enterprises and Web3 native companies to embrace the security in a normalized and professional way. Okay, so to jump directly into the presentation. Sorry, we have a basic agenda today. We're gonna try to cover different areas. try to educate a little bit also about our vision and the experience we have taken from Web 2 and how we can implement those things in Web 3 to help enterprise embrace this adoption, right? So we're gonna go through a basic Web3 adoption status, okay? What reactive security means, how we consider that we need to move to security posture management to improve everything, what the ASPM means in Web 2 and what the ASPM means in Web 3. There's gonna be a lot of different concepts. I'm gonna try to help you guys to understand all of them, right? Obviously, if you have any questions, you can just put that there in the chat. We are very happy to address any question. Okay. Finally, we're gonna try to explain what Web3 native ASPM means, which is basically the core approach of what we have built in Dedge Security to address the potential future attacks, not now, but in the ones that are gonna happen in the future, right? And then we're gonna show a couple of examples of supply chain attacks, which are probably the most complex ones to detect and avoid. And then Pablo's gonna show a demo of our solution, and we are open to Q&A. Okay, so let's start first with the challenge. So basically, as you probably know, guys, everything is moving faster than probably everyone was expecting, right? And which is great, which is good for all of us working in this space. Basically, the enterprise companies, enterprise sector is moving because of the regulation. The regulations are now in place, and that is allowing everyone to move faster, to start moving. And a good example of that is the stable coins, right? The stable coins and other use cases that there were, and most people have a lot of potential to make them great. But now it's no longer an experiment. We can do that. Companies, enterprises, everyone can start doing that. The market is there. It's an urgency to have something ready as soon as possible. And of course, everyone is demanding the technology capable of doing that, right? The quality, the capacity of scale, the capacity of response, all of those kinds of things require a lot of demands in the ecosystem. In this slide, you can see a diagram from Gartner. Gartner has been done hype cycles for a long time. In this case, you can see a hype cycle for the blockchains, and they published it in 2024. But you can see that a lot of use cases are now moving into the mature state, okay? And that's a good thing. And this is aligned with what we are seeing, okay? But of course, this represents at some point some challenges and risks, okay? So if we focus on security, the risks are there, basically because when the adoption moving faster and everyone now can deliver things, the attackers are going to stay there to attack or to take advantage of that, okay? Obviously, because of the velocity that it requires to have those things ready, can create more attack surfaces. The attackers know that, okay? They know that we are moving faster in Web3, that we have new technologies, that we need to integrate all of those technologies, and they can take advantage of those holes, right? Basically, the existing tools that we have in the Web2 space, I'll talk about that later, okay? Really don't cover the new area of what we are now building, builders in Web3 or enterprises moving with amazing use cases, right? And at the same time, what the ecosystem is trying to do, with builders, developers, everyone is trying to implement security practices that are probably the most simple ones, or the ones that they consider are the most effective at this point, right? So those kind of methods, we call it reactive methods of reactive solutions, right? So things like manual audits, bug bounties, real-time security, those are great solutions and make sense, but they can't cover what we are going to see in the future, or even what we have seen now with potential attacks, right? Then when we go through the supply chain attacks, we can talk more about that. So basically, the enterprises, if they need to move faster and they want to embrace this amazing adoption, they need to match those kind of they need to match the security with the technology needs that they need, right? So that leads us to what is exactly the reactive security, right? So as I mentioned, we have a lot of experience in Web 2. In Web 2, there has been a lot of different challenges, a lot of different technologies. They have to cover different areas, right? The reactive security is normally something similar to legacy thinking. Is those methods, those approaches that are basically taken from the Web 2 that can be useful to apply in the Web 3 or were useful to apply in Web 3 immediately because of the urgency and the demands of the market in terms of having something ready to cover security quickly, right? But of course, those kind of reactive security approaches, as you can see here, I just put some examples, right? Manual audits, real-time security, bug bounty programs, blockchain analytics. I'm sure that probably most of you guys understand this and know about different companies, services, tools out there providing those kind of things as you are using them, okay? And it's great. But at some point, you need to move forward and have something that goes beyond those kind of approaches. I mean, you can have them, of course, but at some point, the industry needs to normalize and embrace what is already being done in other areas, right? So using those kind of reactive solutions basically they can have some consequences, right? They basically can create a false confidence of security because in some cases, those solutions, those approaches apply to specific areas or specific flows of the development and don't cover the whole software development life cycle, which is basically the key of everything, right? I mean, you need to try to cover the whole flow, the whole cycle, right? Not just to focus on specific areas or specific points, because if not, the attackers are gonna know that, are gonna try to exploit those small gaps or combine different attack surfaces to have their goals, right? Obviously, the other consequences of having those kind of or using those kind of approaches is that in most of the cases, the issues are in production. I mean, the teams skip those issues that are not detected early during the development, and they ended up in production, and it's too late. When it's in production, it's late. Okay, even if you have some real-time security solution, or even if you have the best operation team, at some point you are losing the battle. You are one step behind, right? So basically, what we consider, given our experience and understanding that the companies needs to move from reactive to proactive security, and that's mean at some point embrace the posture management, the posture management solution, right? And what means security posture management? I just put here a diagram. Probably it's complex to understand first, but it's similar to what most of the teams are doing or development teams are doing every day, right? So basically, the security posture management is an approach, is a way of normalize how you interact with your assets, how you interact with your daily development, right? So basically, you can have a visibility of what you are building or what you have in production, that you can evaluate potential risk in code or in cloud or on chain, and evaluate the issues that an approach like that can bring to you. Okay, and once you have those issues, you can remediate them. Okay, but of course, in order to remediate them, you need to prioritize them. So as you can see, it's like a visualization. Is a detection of vulnerabilities, prioritize them, remediate them, and also work together with all the teams within the company to help them to mitigate them, right? Not just the engineering team, but also the platform team, the DevOps team. The idea is that a security posture management approach allows the whole company and different teams to work together and understand the different problems they can have in different stages during the development of something. Okay, it could be a DeFi, it could be a service, it could be the emission of a stable coin. It doesn't matter exactly what you're building. The thing is that if you embrace this kind of approach, you will be able at some point to mitigate issues before everything goes to production. And even in production, you'll have a similar approach to help you to address any potential issue. Okay. What else do we have here? So basically, the posture management is something very mature. I mean, if this is new for you, you can check internet that you will see a lot of information about this. Obviously, the cybersecurity industry is huge. Okay, there are a lot of different solutions and products. It's a big and mature business already. Okay, so as you can see here, I tried to put some examples of solutions that embrace ASPM, so security posture management, for a specific segment. For example, ASPM is for application security, CSPM is for cloud security, DSPM is for data, CNAP is like an hybrid solution combining posture management for application and also for cloud, unifying then that. Okay. Now with the EA, we have also EASPM, for example. There are already very interesting solutions out there to protect the LLM infrastructure and customers using that. So basically, as you can see, big names there, right? Most of the big vendors in the Web2 provide those solutions to their customers, so they can cover different areas, right? But obviously, the root is the same, is to help them using a proactive approach to have a whole visibility of their assets and how to mitigate the issues before everything goes into production, okay? Regarding of the team involved in using that solution. So obviously this requires a CISO minded posture management, which is something very common in the Web2. In Web3, we are moving into that direction, okay? So most of the companies in Web2 have the CISO or the security person or security team that basically orchestrate those solutions, and nothing is going into production, nothing start moving before passing through them, okay? And there is an alignment between an engineering team and the security team. You know, in Web3, we are probably in a very early stage. We are moving forward, which is great, but at some point the engineering team doesn't have all the skills or understanding about security, and they need to improvise, and they try to put what they consider is best, right? But at some point, the idea is to normalize and professionalize the implementation of the security approach within the development of the product, right? And of course, very important, this is no longer optional. I mean, this is mandatory. If you go to any enterprise company operating with a product, they need security in place, okay? And they know that they need to use one of those solutions from those vendor or others, because it's basically a standard, right? So what we consider here is how we can provide something like that in the Web3 space, okay? So we can provide professional solutions to make a standard, to normalize the way we can fix issues. So as you can see, I'm trying to explain our vision of and our experience of how things are in Web2 and see how we can implement that in Web3, right? This is not exactly so much technical. We can have more technical details later with Pablo, but it's like I think it's a good transition to understand what you're going to see later, right? Okay, so basically, as you see later, we have different security, security posture management solutions or approaches. We consider that the ASPM is the one that could fit perfectly in the Web3 space for most developments, for most developers and services, right? So obviously, the existing ASPM solutions are not designed to understand Web3 technologies, Web3, blockchain, DLT, whatever you want to call it. You know about that, guys. So we have a complete different stack. So we have smart contracts, we have languages for those smart contracts, we have specific development frameworks and libraries, infrastructure providers. It's like a complete new stack with a different business logic and behavior, okay? And if we talk about chain, the thing is even different. I mean, if you compare it with the cloud or cloud security, right? So it's a complete different scenario. So the thing is, those vendors, those existing solutions are not designed to cover what we are building, what you guys are building for embracing the Web3 with different use cases, right? You can cover probably some specific areas, but it's not. They are not made to understand the whole flow. And the idea here is that there needs to protect the whole life cycle, right? This is basically our vision. We need to make sure that developers, builders can build safely since day one and all days, okay, with an autonomous and proactive security solution, okay? So yeah, basically, as I was mentioning, so we have this amazing full stack that we are used to work with, and we are building on that, on top of that. But of course, existing solutions are not covering it, okay? Existing Web 2, okay? Obviously, there are different tools that are now in the space, which are great, but how we can combine most of those things, taking things from the Web 2, create that approach for be close to the posture management solution in Web 3. The risks are even bigger if you are talking about an enterprise product, right? Because you have to lead with financial or operational, reputational problems, as you can see here in this slide, no? And now that we have the regulations in place, MiCA in Europe, for example, and the Genius Act in the US, we are now going to be, we now have to make all of those potential services ready for those regulations, okay? If they are not compliant with those regulations, companies are going to face a lot of problems, okay? It's not just having a problem with a token or something like that. This is more about sanctions, exclusion for regions. It could affect the whole business, right? Reputation. So we need to move forward. We need to think about how to provide a good approach so we can embrace similar Web 2 security posture management for specifically built for Web 3, right? So this is what we now call the Web 3 native ASPM. Basically, this is the second part of the presentation, and we call it Web 3 native ASPM because it's a solution that understands the whole technology and cover and help developers during the whole life cycle, right? It's not just our solution. We consider that this is an approach, right? And we are basically building their approach and embracing it. So bring that to builders so they can build safely. Pablo.
Yeah, thanks for giving us the background. I mean, Ruben comes from, I think 20 years plus in the traditional Web 2 security space, and around me, product manager at Dedge, 5 years ago is when I started noticing someone asked a question if we think they're updating their products to support Web3. I mean, that was my bet basically 5 years ago when I started seeing all the activity, all the pilot programs that were occurring with different enterprise companies. At the time, being in one of them, a big software company at the time, and I was seeing all the activities. And fast forward a couple years to where we are now, we have large scale adoption and a lot of pilot programs happening with financial institutions. But one of the main concerns, main risks remains the security. I mean, this is it's basically your data and the assets that you have, or you're like your own bank for your own data, but on-chain assets basically. And so that's a whole another monster that requires a more taking the same kind of Web2 best practices with ASPM and applying that here with the Web3 tech stack. So that's what we're going to be covering. So enterprises moving into the Web3 space, they face new risks. So posture management has to be reimagined for decentralized technologies. Web3 native ASPM takes the proven posture first model from Web2 and extends it into Web3, delivering continuous protection across the stack. It brings together areas like code security, deployment security, continuous monitoring, vulnerability management, and policy enforcement, all adapted for decentralized technologies. As Wiz noted, ASPM is becoming the connective tissue between security, DevOps, and engineering, and Web3. It plays the same role. Next slide. So code security for smart contracts. They're basically the most critical assets in Web3. Once deployed, they're immutable, which means any mistake can't just be patched later. Most Web3 exploits stem from the errors introduced before deployment. The consequences are serious, from asset loss to service disruption and reputational damage. ASPM addresses this by integrating into CI/CD pipelines, checking every build and deployment, and it continuously evaluates code in multiple languages like Solidity, Rust, and different frameworks. It uses multi-layer analysis, static, dynamic, AI-driven, and business logic assessments to reduce noise, focus on critical risks, and help developers with testing and remediation. So expanding coverage. A DApp or DeFi protocol or stablecoin is built on more than just smart contracts. Attackers also go after supporting components like nodes, validators, wallets, and signing flows, all essential for security and stability. That's why enterprises need posture management that protect the entire code base and infrastructure. This means full stack coverage, beyond contracts to the broader ecosystem, which includes infrastructure as a code security for nodes and provider deployments, wallets and signing security with integrations and multisig, and secrets detection for exposed credentials. It also means software composition analysis for visibility into dependencies and cross-chain validation to secure logic across contracts and networks. So now that we're in the AI era, security has to evolve with it. AI enhances ASPM by reducing noise, filtering out irrelevant findings, and focusing on real exploitable risks. It lowers false positives with context-aware detection tuned for Web3. It can generate actionable remediation from fix suggestions to proofs of concepts and patches. Developers also benefit from iterative workflows to quickly review, test, and improve fixes. But this isn't about replacing human expertise. The best model is hybrid, combining traditional tools, intelligence, and AI for accuracy and reliability. It's also critical to handle customer data carefully for privacy and compliance, while mitigating risk from adversarial AI inputs or data leakage. In Web3, deployment isn't just shipping code. It's moving real assets on chain. Wallet interactions, multi-signature approvals, and patterns like proxies or upgradable contracts introduce critical risks. ASPM helps here with pre-deployment validation to catch risky early and blocking mechanisms to stop insecure or unauthorized deployments. It integrates with wallet providers to handle keys, signing, and multisig. Once assets are deployed, ASPM keeps a full inventory and history of contracts across chains and environments. The result is a continuous security posture that carries through development, deployment, and runtime. Compliance. For Web3 to scale, compliance and visibility are non-negotiable. Frameworks like MiCA, DORA, and stablecoin regulations are emerging across the US, EU, and Dubai. Non-compliance can mean penalties, restricted market access, or reputational damage. Solutions must adapt to regional requirements while supporting global standards. And ASPM ensures traceability by linking deployed assets back to code. It provides risk scoring and prioritization across the lifecycle and generates audit-ready reports. It also tracks ownership, permissions, and governance structures while aligning posture management with global and regional compliance frameworks so organizations can stay compliant and avoid sanctions. So now we're going to dive into supply chain attacks. Ruben. He's more the expert in this and to cover this topic than I am.
Thank you, Pablo. So yeah, basically, guys, we were covering this briefly during my first part, right? And now that Pablo has gone deep into what we call the Web3 ASPM approach, which is basically our solution, right? You can see that I'm sure that you all know about different attacks. The ecosystem is suffering from token loss and smart contracts, cross-chain attacks, exploits of different attacks. Most of them, I mean, we were used to see most of those attacks basically on chain, right? Manipulating transactions because of potential issues in the smart contracts itself. But now things are moving forward, which is something similar we saw, or I saw in the Web2 a lot of time ago. Is as long as you have more complex technologies, more different use cases, right? The attackers can try to exploit different elements and components, not just one, because the smart contract is basically one component. But as you know, if you want to build something more complex like a DeFi or dApp, you have different elements. Okay, you have to combine frameworks, dApps, smart contracts, infrastructure, front-end environments. So the attackers, individually or in group, they know how to exploit those things. They are basically we are seeing that they are taking things from the Web2 into Web3, right? And the supply chain attacks are something perfectly to reflect those kind of scenarios, right? We have been suffering supply chain attacks in Web2 for a long time. That's why basically most of the posture management solutions appear to try to address those kind of problems before delivering into production, right? And now those are two good examples of what we have now seen in the Web3 space. Now, if you can move to the next slide, Pablo. So if you remember in 2023, we had this problem with the Ledger Connect kit, okay? That was a traditional supply chain attack. Someone stole the credential of a developer and introduced malicious code, okay? Something that should never happen. First, obviously, there was a problem with the credentials, okay? And then there was a problem that someone injected code directly into the repository of the library, right? And the library went into production, and everyone was using it. And as a result, a lot of potential damage was done, right? So those kind of platforms like the one we are mentioning, embracing the ASPM, are designed to avoid those kind of situations. It's not to block those kind of situations, it's to avoid them, right? How we can prevent those kind of things, how we can prevent that a library compiles and generate a new release if some malicious code has been injected there, how we didn't be able to prevent that since the beginning, right? If you continue with the next one, Pablo. This is a very recent one, the NPM haste. This is not exactly a target. That wasn't exactly an attack specifically for a Web3, but it's a very interesting example of how to use another supply chain attack, in this case, to introduce crypto malware, okay? Because in this case, the problem that was the attackers use a very common or well-known dependencies, libraries to introduce malware. And once everything was in production, because most of the software was using this kind of dependencies, everyone was affected by this, right? It's exactly the same problem. Is we need to try to avoid those kind of things happen before going into production. If you have a posture management solution in place, you can evaluate with your team. Obviously, those solutions are integrated into the CI/CD, okay? So you can evaluate with your team if someone is doing a pull request that is not correct or contains a malicious code or whatever. Obviously, you can help that with AA, okay? So you can use traditional interpretation, traditional analysis, and if you combine that with AA as part of the CI/CD integration, as probably most of you guys have done now with different open source tools, you can evaluate potential attacks, you can detect and prevent malicious code to be injected into your pipelines or into your repositories. And also, if you have using external dependencies, posture management platforms are combined with different features that, for example, third-party or open source dependency evaluation. Okay, for example, in the US, it's mandatory to have what is now called the ASPM, no? The software bill of materials. So basically, everything needs to have a list of all the open source dependencies, their version, and the status of those things in case that something happens. So a posture management platform can help you to have all of those things out of the box, basically. So the team must focus on code and deliver other than just to evaluate everything from themselves, right? That's why we have this kind of solutions. Yeah. Pablo, go ahead.
Great. So now that we've covered a little bit about ASPM and ASPM and Web3, we're going to dive in a little bit into presentation on how Dedge can apply some of these principles discussed for ASPM in Web3. So for this, we have a video that we prepared, and we're just going to be narrating on top of this video, walking you through the user journey. So this is Dedge. The user selects the organization and they land on the dashboard page. The dashboard page is meant to provide organizations with a holistic view across both their, I guess you could say, local or assets in their code base and the assets that from that code base that's been deployed in a runtime environment. And so now we're going to dive in into the projects section under code security area for Dedge, and we're going to showcase a bit how the user journey of how somebody can find vulnerabilities and solve vulnerabilities in, let's say, a feature branch. So over here, as you can see, we have the DeFi Vault, which is under our main branch, let's say. And the main branch typically is you don't want any vulnerabilities to be going into your main branch. You want to protect it. And so when working on feature branches, you want to, before merging into main, you want to scan those to make sure that you're not introducing any vulnerabilities in that main branch that you're preparing to deploy. So what we're going to do here is we're going to run a scan on that feature branch. During the scan process, you can check what's happening a little bit under the hood. So over here, during our scan process, we have our different SAST analyzers that we're running. These are specifically detecting for Web3 typical smart contract vulnerabilities. And then our other categories of analyzers are looking for more Web2 traditional type vulnerability types like secret leaks, dependency risks, or malconfigured infrastructure. So once the scan completes, the user gets so once it completes, we will navigate into, we'll see the number of issues posted there. You can also see it highlighted here. So in the scan report, it now gives you a list of issues, different severity levels. And now we're going to go deeper into the actual vulnerabilities that it found in this branch. So as you can see here, we have, I think, a total of 39 something issues. We have about 33 Web3 code vulnerabilities in the smart contract, and a couple issues in each other category. So now we're going to show you how we can manage these issues or learn more about them. So one thing to help users triage through their issues in an ASPM. Over here in this example, we're showing out of all the files contained in this project, it seems like the vulnerable bank smart contract has the largest amount of issues. So that could be a first place they want to look. Alternatively, we could just start filtering through category specific vulnerabilities. Over here, we from the high severity vulnerabilities under code that we were filtering for, we happen across a typical reentrancy bug. Over here, the user can open the details of this issue detected by the platform. They can read more about it, such as at what location in the code is this issue being detected, and it's highlighted there. We can also leverage AI for providing more context specific and accurate immediate remediation code snippets for the user to quickly remediate that issue. I'm going to skip through here a bit. Another neat thing is that for all these issues or vulnerabilities that are produced, engineering teams or devs who are reviewing this can just directly create a ticket in Jira with the context of the issue already provided. Now, for dependency vulnerabilities, we found another high severity issue. This one has to do with outdated dependency with Open Zeppelin contracts. So we can investigate a little further. We can open the link to the GitHub. We can quickly view the code that is being mentioned is malicious, and identify really quick how this is going to be fixed. In infrastructure as code, we also have we're also showing in this example mal configured code around your node, so this goes this complements what Ruben was mentioning, that not only are we covering traditional, do we have to be looking for traditional Web3 bugs, but we also have to be looking around the smart contract itself for potential risks being introduced. And then secrets is obviously if you expose a secret in your hard hat config file, things like that, you want to address this immediately. Okay, so we've identified a few high severity issues that we'd like to prioritize, but we also had a lot of issues introduced before. One of the ways that AI is being used is to help evaluate for its propensity of being a false positive. And so in that case, using LLM for evaluating these vulnerabilities that are detected through heuristics, just adding a layer on top to help reduce the noise for the developer of unnecessary issues to review and help them focus on those high severity issues that they should be spending their time on fixing, is going to help with that developer experience and efficiency in solving those bugs. Here's a quick example of what an LLM evaluation looks like for a false positive. And another attribute that we provide on these issues that were detected in previous scans for a project or a branch that's being tracked is we allow users to tag those issues actively on this platform where for false positive or ignored. What that does is it lowers the overall count of the open pending issues to be addressed as closed. So then the total issue count of open issues that need to be addressed keep going down, as well as the risk score overall for that project or branch. Okay, so as part of that user journey example, we wanted to do it. We're working on a feature branch. We wanted to get it into our main branch, and we want to protect that main branch. We identified those two high severity issues that seemed like we had an immediate fix in place that we could implement. So we go back to the code, we work on the fix, and over here, what we're going to do is we're going to create a PR, and as part of that integrated workflow for providing continuous security, what we can do here is we can trigger a CI/CD scan automatically, depending on how you configure your automations and workflows. And with that Slack connector that we went through very quick, with that Slack connector, you'll get a notification of a scan that's been initiated, and also the results posted. So over here, just like in the first scan, we're now viewing that CI/CD scan in progress, and then when it's been posted, we can see here that those issues that we resolved are no longer present. They've been fixed, and so in the scan report that we have here, you have a total of 0 issues. So now when we go to the tracked projects page where we're showing the branches that we're tracking, you can see that DeFi Vault, the feature branch, is after its subsequent scans, has issues have been fixed, and we'll dive in to see what happened to the previous issues. You can see that the two high severity issues that we fixed in code, now on the second scan, it's able to identify that this previously open issue when we initiated the scan has now been resolved. So it'll automatically designate those issues as resolved. So point here is that there's a validation in place where users not only have the opportunity to triage their issues and resolve their issues through the platform by marking ignore a false positive, but also by actually solving the issues in the code itself in between scans. Previous issues in that tracked branch will now automatically close the previously open issue. So there's kind of a life cycle to these issues that are produced through the scans. So another thing I want to mention really quick while we're on this page for the code security section is that in addition to Hard Hat Foundry for Solidity for having that coverage to scan those popular Web3 Solidity frameworks, we also have support for Solana on Rust, and that's one of the complex things for traditional ASPM providers, probably why they haven't made this transition to provide coverage for Web3 yet, is because of the complexity involved with the different languages and frameworks in the Web3 ecosystem. Okay, so as part of that example we were going through before, the feature branch now has its issues resolved. The pull request has been approved, and it's been merged into main. Now, let's say that smart contract is ready to deploy. The neat thing about an ASPM like Dedge is being able to track the asset, the smart contract, in its entire life cycle, from developing it in code all the way to when it's being during deployment and post deployment. Registering the information for that contract, the network it was deployed on, all the relevant information to auto register in the platform for monitoring its runtime. So over here, what we're doing is we're providing different data points around the network, the node, and the smart contract itself. What we have for the smart contract already in place is we've added some custom alerts that when a specific function gets invoked, the alert gets triggered, and the users can either hook that notification via webhook up to their own server, or they can just visualize, which is an additional advanced capability, or they can just view the alerts as they get spit out on under that asset that's registered in the platform. So okay, so we were in the monitoring section. Now we're in the alert section. So right there, I wanted to kind of show that really quick. So admin sensitive operations, this is one of the functions in the ABI of that smart contract that basically maybe as a security monitor, somebody responsible for making sure that operationally the smart contracts or nodes are running well. If this sensitive admin-related operation gets invoked, usually you'd want some sort of notification for this, similarly for like when somebody's trying to log into your email from another IP address or something like that. And here we're showing the details of the alert. We can grab that transaction hash and we can use it, view it on the Block Explorer. And in this case, we're using Besu as an example, the Besu network. So yeah, that's concludes the demo. So I guess questions like yeah, Ruben.
Yeah, no, that's thank you, Pablo. So if you have any question, I just saw a couple of them and I tried to answer them. But if you have any question, we have some time to answer them.
Yeah, I'd be curious if there's anyone on the call now or watching this later to drop a comment or of how do you, if you're working in Web3 or you're a vibe coder, how or you work for an organization, how are you guys finding your vulnerabilities, or what is your process, or if your process is somewhat similar, or if there's some comment you want to add, something that you think is interesting to consider, or something that you learned here that was new, definitely let us know. And also feel free to pick Ruben's brain. I think he brings a lot of interesting insights coming from the Web2 security space. So I think there's a unique approach here for how to apply ASPM and Web3 that may be native Web3 ASPM companies who started building out internal processes for code security checks just didn't have that previous experience.
I saw that Nick asked a question, and thanks for replying, Ruben. And yeah, if anybody wants to speak up, you can raise your hand and I'll just unmute you. I just checked YouTube and LinkedIn Live. We have some people watching there, but no questions there right now.
Okay. Okay, perfect. So yeah, thank you for your time to everyone. We are very happy to address any question or concern that you have. Obviously, we encourage you guys to learn more about the solutions you need to put in place, to learn more about the things we have mentioned here, ASPM, security solution for Web2. And obviously, every solution needs to you need to have a solution that really adapts to your needs, right? It's very important. So just evaluate things, make sure that you have good expertise in place, and help you guys to move forward with this amazing opportunity that we have now in this ecosystem to be pioneers, right? Oh, thank you.
Great.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, Ruben and Pablo. It was a very interesting presentation. And for those of you watching this recording later, feel free to reach out to us either through Discord or also to the Dedge Security directly. Okay, now before we go, just have a quick going. Well, first, thanks again, Ruben and Pablo. A really good presentation. It was very informative. And just before we conclude, I would also like to invite all of you watching to also check our events page to learn about the following events, both in person as well as the online events. We update them daily, so you're welcome to join us at the future events as well. Please also visit our meetup page and sign for meetups. We have a lot of online as well as in-person meetups all around the world, and you're very welcome to join any of those. Visit our Discord channel. There's a lot of channel related to our projects, working groups, regional chapters, and there's a lot of real-time interaction there as well. And you can find our Discord channel by following this link. And just a reminder, all the slides will be uploaded to our webinar library. I would also like to invite organizations to join us as corporate members, and feel free to contact us to learn more about that. Now, once again, thank you everybody for joining us today. Thank you for watching, and thank you to our panelists for this great presentation. Again, don't forget, you can revisit the presentation on our webinar library as well as download the slides over there. Thank you, and see you next time.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.